My wife was openly flirting with her coworker right in front of me. When I confronted her, she shrugged and said, "If you're that insecure, you can go." So I walked out. And that night I made a move she never expected. Hey, Reddit. My wife flirted with her coworker right in front of me. Then gaslit me into thinking I was just being insecure 3 weeks later. Everything finally came to light, and I realized my gut had been right from the start. So grab some popcorn. This one gets interesting. My name's Liam, 35, male. I married Fiona when I was 26 and she was 24, fresh out of grad school, starting her first real job. I was working as a financial analyst. Steady paycheck, decent apartment, basically the safe choice parents brag about. We dated 2 years, got engaged, did the church wedding, the whole standard setup for the first few years. Things were good. Not picture perfect, but solid. Looking back now, I can see exactly why she picked me. I was reliable, didn't pry, packed her lunches on late nights, and accepted whatever explanation she gave. I was her safe zone, but recently the signs had been piling up. She started placing her phone face down, showered immediately when she got home instead of collapsing on the couch. And she wouldn't stop talking about this guy from her marketing team, Ronan. When your wife says the same man's name a dozen times in a weekend, you take notice. And when she's suddenly working late every Tuesday and Thursday until 8 or 9, you definitely notice. I tried to shrug it off, figured maybe work was stressing her out. Then came the barbecue at her department head's house in North Phoenix. Fiona spent a full hour getting ready. Changed clothes twice, full glam makeup. I threw on jeans and a polo. She insisted we drive separately because she might stay to help clean up. We walked into the backyard, and within barely a minute, she beelined straight for Ronan. She tossed out some excuse about greeting her team and practically sprinted to him. Ronan was exactly the stereotype. Mid-30s, expensive haircut, CrossFit build, smooth corporate talker with a drink in hand, acting like the star of every story he told. And Fiona lit up the second she reached him. Within seconds, she touched his arm. For the next couple of hours, I watched it play out, Fiona laughing at every word, her hand on his forearm, leaning in way too close. That fake laugh she used on me. When we first dated, I tried joining their conversation 4 different times. Each time, she cut me off or switched topics immediately. When I suggested checking the food table, she rolled her eyes like I was some annoying kid dragging her away from something important. Then another coworker joined the group. Fiona proudly introduced Ronan first, his promotion, his new territory, the whole resume. Then she waved vaguely at me and said, "And this is my husband." No name, no job. Nothing, just husband. Like I was a coat rack she was obligated to acknowledge, I walked off, got a drink, and stood near the fence watching her act like she was single. She was showing Ronan something on her phone now, laughing too loudly. The others had quietly drifted away, probably sensing the vibe. After another hour, I decided to test her. I walked back over and said I might head out. Early morning tomorrow. She stared at me like I'd interrupted some important meeting. "Why don't you grab another drink or mingle with someone else? I'd prefer to talk to my wife," I said. That's when she dropped the act look. I'm in the middle of a conversation. "If you can't handle me being social, maybe you should figure out why you're so bothered." Ronan looked uncomfortable. "I don't mind you being social," I replied calmly. "I mind you flirting." Fiona folded her arms. "I'm not flirting. I'm networking. If you can't deal with that, the door is right there." She pointed to the gate with a smirk. I looked at the gate, then at her. Then back at the gate. "You're right." I grabbed my keys and walked. Behind me, she suddenly called out, "Wait, where are you going?" I didn't turn around. I walked out the gate, got in my car, and drove off. In the rearview mirror, she stood there stunned while Ronan looked like he wished he could vanish. My phone started buzzing before I even reached the freeway, notifications lighting up the seat. I ignored them until I got home. I sat on the couch, took a drink, and finally checked my phone. 25 messages. All from her. The first ones were defensive. "What was that? Everyone kept asking where you went. You embarrassed me." Then it shifted to panic. "Please talk to me. Are you seriously not answering?" Jess is dropping me off. An hour later, I heard her car pull up. The front door slammed hard enough to shake the frames on the wall. She stormed in. "What is wrong with you?" I took a slow sip. "Nothing. You told me the door was right there, so I used it." "That's not what I meant, and you know it." "Sounds pretty straightforward to me," I said. "You pointed at the door and said if I couldn't handle your networking, I should leave." She paced, furious. She said I humiliated her, that everyone kept asking where I went, and she had to lie and say I felt sick. "Why not just tell them the truth?" I asked. "Because that makes me look like a terrible wife." I almost laughed, and spending 3 hours flirting with Ronan in front of your husband makes you look like. What exactly? Her face turned red. I wasn't flirting. You're just insecure. I was networking, building professional relationships. Networking, I repeated. That's what we're calling it now. Yes, she snapped. And if you can't handle me talking to male coworkers without having a meltdown, that's a you issue, not a me issue. I got up and walked to the kitchen. She followed, still ranting about how I'd always been jealous, how I needed to work on myself, how trust was the foundation of a good marriage. Are you even listening to me? She demanded. I'm listening, I said. You're telling me that touching another guy's arm every 30 seconds, laughing at everything he says, and introducing me as just my husband counts as professional networking. Her face went red. That's not, I didn't mean, and when I tried joining the conversation, you shut me down every single time. You're twisting everything, she fired back. Am I asked. Because from where I stood, it looked like you were embarrassed I existed. That's ridiculous, is it? Because when I confronted you about it, you literally pointed to the exit and told me to use it. She glared at me. You know what your problem is? You don't trust me. A healthy marriage needs trust. You're right, I said quietly. It does. But trust isn't something you demand, it's something you earn. So, you don't trust me. I looked at her for a long moment. Should I? The question hung in the air. For the first time all night, she didn't have a rehearsed comeback. She just turned around and walked out. I heard her go upstairs and shut the bedroom door. I slept in the guest room. The next morning, my phone started ringing at dawn. Fiona had activated her family overnight. Her sister called. Went to voicemail. Her mom called. Voicemail, then her sister again. I got dressed and went downstairs. She was in the kitchen, already on the phone, using her concerned victim voice. I don't know what's gotten into him. He's been so jealous lately. He made a huge scene because I was talking to a colleague about work. I poured myself some coffee and leaned against the doorframe. No, I wasn't flirting, she said sweetly. You know me, I'm just friendly. But he acted like I did something awful. She lowered her voice when she noticed me. Listen, I should go. Yeah, I think he needs to work on a few things. She hung up and turned toward me with forced cheerfulness. Good morning, she said. Coffee's fresh, thanks. So I was thinking, she continued. Maybe we should talk to someone, work through these trust issues. These trust issues? Well, your trust issues. I think it would help you to speak with a professional. I almost laughed. You want me to see someone because you flirted with another man? I want us to improve our communication. I heard you just fine. You told me the door was right there. Her phone buzzed. She glanced down and brightened. Oh, it's my mom. She's really worried about us. She answered before I could respond. Within seconds, she was in the living room, repeating her revised version of events, playing the same script, the same victim narrative, the same gaslighting about how I'm too jealous. I finished my coffee and headed to the garage, started sorting tools, organizing the workbench, mostly to think Fiona was already painting me as the villain. Classic move, control the story first. 20 minutes later, my phone rang. Unknown number. It was Tom. Her brother-in-law Paula told me you two had a blow-up last night, he said. I gave him the short version. Fiona flirted with some guy for 3 hours, ignored me, and told me to leave when I didn't like it. He hesitated. Paula said you got jealous because Fiona was networking. That the official script now? I asked. Tom tried to sound diplomatic. Fiona's always been a little outgoing. She's naturally friendly. It doesn't necessarily mean anything. It means something to me. Maybe you could cut her some slack. She's really upset. Her whole family is freaking out. Tom, I said, if Paula ignored you at a party for 3 hours, flirted with another guy the whole time, and told you the door was right there when you confronted her, what would you do? Long pause. Well, that's different. How? Because Fiona is just naturally friendly, right? I hung up and went back to organizing tools. I started thinking about the future, because one thing was becoming obvious. This marriage was already collapsing. Fiona just hadn't realized it yet. 20 minutes later, Fiona's dad called. We need to talk about last night, he said. Fiona called me pretty upset. Did she mention telling me to use the door? Silence. She said you were being unreasonable about her talking to a coworker. Interesting version, I said. Here's the actual one. She spent 3 hours flirting with another man, ignored her husband the entire time, and told him to leave if he didn't like it. So I did. Another long pause. Look, I know Fiona. She's social. That's just her personality. Being social is one thing. What she did last night was something else entirely. You sure you're not being a bit sensitive, Albert? I said. If your wife spent 3 hours at a party touching another man's arm and acting like you didn't exist, would you call yourself sensitive? Even longer pause. No, he admitted. I wouldn't, then you get where I'm coming from. I do. And honestly, Fiona's mom has been on my back for years about letting Fiona get away with too much. Maybe this is all catching up. Appreciate your honesty. The rest of the day, I started planning, quietly. Carefully, the kind of plans you don't announce until everything is already done. Fiona came home around 6 o'clock with takeout, pretending everything was normal. She asked about my day like we hadn't been on the edge of a blow-up. I played along, ate dinner, watched whatever show she put on, went to bed. But mentally, I was already halfway out of the marriage. She just didn't realize it yet. A few nights later, she was waiting for me with a completely different vibe. Gone was the attitude and defensiveness. Now she looked almost remorseful. Can we talk? She asked quietly. We're talking, I said, sitting down at the kitchen table. She took the seat across from me. Look, I messed up at the barbecue. I got caught up in the whole networking thing, and I didn't think about how it looked or how it made you feel. That wasn't fair to you. I let her talk, and I should never have said that thing about the door. That was rude and dismissive. You didn't deserve that. I'm sorry I waited. Because people don't switch that fast without a reason. I've been thinking about it all week, she said. And you were right, I was flirting. I didn't want to admit it because it made me feel guilty, but yeah, I was, and I'm sorry. I don't want to lose you over this. There it was, the perfectly crafted apology. Exactly the kind couples therapists would recommend. Which is exactly why it felt rehearsed. Okay, I said. She blinked. Okay, yeah, okay, that's it. What else do you want me to say? You apologized. I heard you, so we're good. She asked carefully. Are we? I apologized. I admitted I was wrong. I said I'd do better, and I said okay. She leaned back, trying to read me. You don't believe me. I didn't say that, but you don't. I shrugged. You said what you needed to say. I acknowledged it. Not sure what more you expect. I expect us to move forward. What am I being forgiven for exactly? I left after you told me to. Technically, I followed instructions. Her jaw tightened. She was getting irritated again. Fine, she snapped. If you don't want to accept my apology, that's on you. But I'm trying, and you're making this difficult. I accepted your apology. I want you to mean it. What makes you think I don't? She stood up, frustrated. Because you're being sarcastic. And weird, like you're playing some kind of game. I leaned back. No game, you apologized. I said okay. She stared at me for a long second, then stormed off upstairs. I heard the bedroom door slam. The following week, Fiona kept up the model wife, routine cooking my favorite meals, avoiding arguments, suggesting a weekend getaway to Sedona. Being extra affectionate, touching my arm, laughing at everything I said. A performance. An obvious one. And once you see behind the curtain, you can't pretend the trick is real anymore. So I did what anyone does once they realize their marriage is on its last legs. I started preparing, not all at once, but steadily. We had around $47,000 in our joint account. I began transferring $2,500 here, $3,000 there into an account she didn't have access to. Kept everything tracked and legal screenshots, receipts, a spreadsheet. Within 2 weeks, I'd quietly moved $28,000 and left enough in the joint account to cover bills. Fiona never noticed. She checked the account maybe once a month, glanced at the number, and moved on. I also made copies of everything: bank statements, mortgage paperwork, insurance files. Stored them at my brother's house. Started a detailed timeline of every suspicious change in her behavior since June. And then on a Tuesday afternoon, 3 weeks after the barbecue, everything blew open. The email arrived at 2:30 p.m. Subject: about your wife and my husband. Sender: Carrera Carver, Ronan's wife. I opened it. She wrote that I might not know her, but she was married to Ronan from my wife's department. She'd come across something on his iPad last night, and I deserved to see it. Said it wasn't easy for her to send, and it wouldn't be easy for me to read. She left her phone number. I called. She picked up instantly. Is this Fiona's husband? Yeah. Liam, what's going on? I'm Carrera, Ronan's wife, or soon-to-be ex-wife. Her voice was controlled, but you could hear the hurt under it. Going to text you some screenshots. Look at all of them. Then call me. She hung up 5 seconds later. My phone buzzed. The first screenshot was a text thread. Fiona's number at the top. Date: August 10, 1 week before the barbecue. Fiona: last night was incredible. I can't stop thinking about it. You make me feel things I haven't felt in years. Ronan: same here. When can we do it again? This weekend. Fiona: Friday works, same place. I'll tell him I'm working late on the campaign. My hands went cold. I opened the next screenshot. Ronan: does your husband suspect anything? Fiona: he's been acting a little weird, asking more questions. But he's too passive to ever do anything. I've got him trained. Lol. I kept scrolling. More messages, more meetups, hotel plans in Scottsdale. Her calling me boring, him calling his wife clueless. both of them laughing about how easy it was to hide everything. Then one message hit harder than the rest Fiona had messaged. He asked if everything was okay. I told him he was paranoid and needed to trust me more, and apparently he apologized. Ronan replied, "Man's a doormat. My wife would have kicked me out by now." Fiona answered, "That's why I married someone safe. He'll never leave." The timestamps went back 3 months, June through August. Every Tuesday and Thursday. The same late nights she said were for the campaign. I'd even packed her lunches on those days. My stomach dropped. Then the anger hit. I called Tierra back. "You saw everything?" I asked. "Yeah." Ronan left his iPad in the kitchen. I opened it to look up a recipe, saw Fiona's name, saw the preview, and read the whole thing. She'd already confronted Ronan. He tried to lie, then admitted it, then downplayed it. She told him she was telling me anyway. "I'm filing today," I told her. She sent all the screenshots, photos, and even a voicemail, organized in a folder she'd made overnight. I sat in my car for nearly an hour just rereading everything. The details matched everything I'd noticed for months. I knew exactly what needed to happen. I went straight to a divorce lawyer. Hugo, mid-50s, sharp, professional. He reviewed the evidence and nodded Arizona's no fault, but infidelity still matters for optics and asset division. "I want her served at work," I said. He raised an eyebrow but agreed. We went over accounts, the house, cars, retirement. He said my financial prep was smart. "I can have the papers ready Thursday," he said. "Perfect. 3 p.m. Why 3? That's when her team has their weekly meeting." He smiled. "All right. We'll do it." I acted normal at home Tuesday and Wednesday. Fiona was suddenly playing the sweet wife, dinners, small talk, pretending nothing was wrong. I played along. Wednesday night she tried initiating. I said I was tired. She dropped it. Thursday morning I left early. At 2:40 p.m. I got the text, "Package delivered." Target looked shocked. At 3 p.m. she started calling. I let every call go to voicemail. Her voicemails went from confused to panicked to angry. I finally texted, "Your things will be on the porch by Sunday. Locks change tomorrow." She called nonstop. By evening I had dozens of missed calls and texts. When I got home, her car was already there. The locksmith had finished. New keys in the mailbox. Inside, Fiona was on the couch, mascara smeared, eyes swollen from crying. She stood when I walked in. "We need to talk." She said no. I told her, "You need to leave. This is my house too." "Not anymore. My lawyer filed for exclusive use. You'll get your half in the settlement. Until then, you're trespassing." Her jaw dropped. "You can't do that." "I already did. You've got 5 minutes to grab what you need for tonight. Everything else goes on the porch Sunday." "Liam, please, no. Get your things, leave your key, and go." She stared at me, then whispered, "I made a huge mistake, but we can fix this. Couples work through stuff like this. You slept with him for 3 months, I said. You lied, you mocked me, you joked about how easy it was to hide. And when I caught you flirting, you told me to leave. There's nothing to fix." Her face drained. "How do you even? Who told you? Doesn't matter. I know everything. Hotels, messages, dates, all of it." She started crying. 4 minutes, Fiona. "Then I called the police." She grabbed her purse, went upstairs, and came back 10 minutes later with a small bag and her laptop. At the door she said, "I love you. I'm going to fight for us. The papers are filed." I said, "You had every chance not to cheat. You blew them. Leave." She sat in her car crying before driving off. 30 seconds later, Paula called, yelling, "You served her at work." "That's cruel. You know what's cruel?" I said. "Sleeping with a coworker while pretending to work late and gaslighting your spouse. You're being vindictive." She humiliated me first. Fiona's devastated. Good, she warned me I'd regret it. I told her the only thing I regretted was not leaving sooner. Then I blocked her. That night, I ignored the non-stop calls, ate takeout, watched a game, and slept better than I had in months. By Friday, the whole company knew. HR pulled Fiona and Ronan into a meeting. Ronan was put on leave, and by noon the next day, Sierra texted me he'd been fired. Fiona kept her job for now, but her reputation was in flames. When I checked my phone Friday morning, I had 50+ missed calls. Fiona's boss even called, asking me to keep things quiet. The only call I returned was from her dad. "She cheated for 3 months, I told him. "I have proof," he sighed. "My daughter made her choices. She'll deal with the consequences." On Saturday, Fiona showed up again. I opened the door with the chain still latched. "Liam, we need to talk," she said, looking wrecked. "Nope, you can't end 6 years like this." "I already did. We can do counseling, anything. I'll quit my job, I'll move. I'll cut contact with him, just please no. This is on you." I closed the door. She cried on the porch for 20 minutes before leaving. Sunday morning, I put all her things out on the porch: clothes, shoes, photos, kitchen stuff. She came at 10 with Paula, and I watched from the window as they loaded everything into the SUV. Fiona kept glancing at the house like she hoped I'd come out. I didn't. On their last trip, she walked up and knocked. I didn't answer. She tried the new key I'd left in one of the boxes, the useless one. I heard her swear. Liam, she called through the door. Please open up. I stayed silent. Paula muttered something. Fiona snapped back. Then car doors shut and they drove off. After a few minutes, I opened the door. Only one box remained, sentimental stuff. Wedding photos, her dress, anniversary cards, honeymoon pictures. I tossed the entire box into the dumpster. Didn't feel a thing. The divorce moved quick. Her lawyer tried pushing for mediation, claiming we needed time to cool off. My lawyer replied with the evidence, messages, receipts, dates. My client will not mediate with someone who maintained a 3-month affair. Mediation talk ended immediately. 2 weeks later was the first hearing. Fiona tried to make eye contact. I ignored her. Her lawyer complained about me moving money. Mine showed the spreadsheet. The judge ruled it reasonable. We split everything 50-50 because that's how no fault works, but I kept the $28K I'd protected. That felt like a win, the whole thing wrapped in 4 months. Ronan got fired 3 weeks after the papers hit. Fiona kept her job, but the office treated her like she was toxic. No projects, no invites, no small talk. She tried spinning it as a misunderstanding, but Kiara's screenshots shut that down fast. Hard to argue with dates and hotel receipts. When the divorce finalized, I got an email. You're officially divorced. Congratulations on your fresh start. I went out for a steak that night, watched a game at the bar, and breathed easy for the first time in months. 2 weeks later, Thursday evening, someone knocked on my door. My new place downtown, 1-bedroom, clean slate. I checked the peephole. Fiona, I almost didn't open it. But I did without inviting her. And what do you want? I asked. She looked worn down, thinner, tired, older. I just wanted to talk. 5 minutes against better judgment, I let her step inside. She glanced around. Nice place. Then she faced me. I miss you, she said quietly. I know you probably don't believe me, but I do. I miss what we had. I didn't say anything. I ruined everything, she continued. I know that. I've thought about it every day. Good for you, I said. She swallowed. I'm losing my job. They're downsizing. I'm the first to go. People still whisper about what happened. Not my problem. I know, she said quickly. I'm not asking you to fix it. I just want you to know I've paid for what I did. Everything fell apart because you caused it, I said. She nodded, eyes wet. I'm not asking for pity. Is there any chance we could start over? I've changed. I looked at her. No, her face trembled. You didn't just cheat, I said. You gaslit me for months. You made me think I was jealous and paranoid when I was right the whole time. I was scared, she whispered. And you showed me exactly who you are when you're scared, I said. You meant every word you said that night. You wanted me gone so you could keep both worlds. She broke down crying. I'm sorry. I'd do anything to undo it. You're sorry because of the consequences. That's all. That's not fair. I walked to the door and opened it. Remember when you told me the door was right there, I said. Well, it's right here again. Use it. She hesitated, tears running down her face. Leave, I said. She stepped to the doorway, turned back. One last time. I love you. I know you think that, but you don't. You love the idea of not being alone. So take your love and your apologies and leave. She tried to say something else, but I was already closing the door. I watched through the peephole as she stood there crying for a couple minutes before walking away. That was 4 months ago. Haven't heard from her since. Mutual friends say she'll